So if you've been watching the Dolphins offseason closely, you might feel like something bigger's going on here. And you might not be that far off from the truth. Because this isn't just about who the Dolphins are hiring. This is about how they're building their infrastructure to lead to the product on the field. And more importantly, who are they trying to become? Right now, the Miami Dolphins feel less like they're improvising like they did under the Chris Greer regime, and more like it's choosing a lane to travel in. So the question from that becomes, who exactly are we? Are we the Miami Packers, or are we the Green Bay Dolphins? We'll get into that question next on the first ever mini-sode of the Phish Outta Water Show. So before we zoom in on staff names, we need to zoom out. Because sometimes you're just looking at the picture too closely to see the full picture, right? Because the Packers way, the Ron Wolf philosophy, just helped send both the Seattle Seahawks and the stinking ass New England Patriots to Super Bowl 60. I'm gonna be Mike Jones here for a second. I said the Packers way, the philosophy of Ron Wolf, just helped the Seattle Seahawks and the stinking ass New England Patriots get to Super Bowl 60.
Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
Now, the reason why that matters is it's the same philosophy runs through Miami now. Dolphins GM John Eric Sullivan, Jay Easy, as I'm going to call him. I'm not calling him Sullivan. You can call him Sullivan.
Wait a second. A man has the right to change his name to whatever he wants to change it to.
That man didn't just pass through Green Bay. He was forged in the fires there, working alongside John Schneider from 2004 to 2009. That era taught him a very specific belief system. Draft and develop, culture over flash, wired right evaluations, and quarterback pipelines as a standard and not a panic move. So above all, the alignment that we talked about, that we've been talking about. So here, this context is going to explain everything that we're seeing, from the Jeff Hafley hire, the staff construction, comfort with internal familiarity. That's the promotion of Bobby Slowick.
Say what?
Say what?
Say what?
Say what?
Say
what? What?
Even the criticisms around closed loop hiring. None of this is random. This is all organizational gravity, right? So the Packers way just sent 2 teams to the Super Bowl, and now it's running through Miami. So let's talk about what the Dolphins have actually done, all right? We'll deal with what's concrete. Not theory, not what the fans want, not what we're hearing about, just the facts of the matter, because that's what we do here on the Phish Outta Water Show. First and foremost, the assistant GM, Kyle Smith. That's a building towards the infrastructure, okay? That's control of the roster vision. That's Sullivan reinforcing his foundation and getting his right-hand man. I got no problem with that. The guy's familiar with roster building and familiar as a talent evaluator. The next hire that we had confirmed was Chris Tabor, and he is a special teams coordinator, veteran presence, proven coach, multiple stops throughout the NFL. This is Jeff Hafley saying we are fixing the third phase of the game, because our special teams has been trash in the handbag since Darren Rizzi. It just hasn't been good. So he's fixing that. It's not a flashy move. It's a professional move. It's it's poaching from a coaching staff that is in turmoil right now. So then we move on to Tyke Tolbert, the wide receivers coach. He is these players describe him as a technician, a developer. He's worked with Anquan Bolden, Demarius Thomas, DJ Moore, Manuel Sanders, Steve Smith, Eric Moles, a whole bunch of other names, right? So the staff that they're building is for drafting young players and developing them. This guy here is a master instructor, and we're going to have a bunch of young players, whether they are draft picks or they undrafted free agents. They need to be instructed.
You need a teacher. I could show you the ways of the Force.
So, I mean, that's just the fact of the matter. So, the most telling move so far is the internal promotion of Bobby Slowick, promoted to offensive coordinator.
Say what?
Say what?
Say what?
Say what?
Say
what? What?
This is definitely choosing continuity over reinvention. This is structure over experimentation. This is trust over turnover. And I know a lot of you don't necessarily agree with the move. I don't either.
But forgive me, I'm cynical by nature. Why?
I felt like maybe they should have called up Darrell Bevell. He's play called 2 Super Bowls. He's gone 1-1. And my best guess as to why they picked Slowick over Bevell is simply because he's a head coach candidate. And if you're Hafley, you don't want to hire the guy who could potentially replace you. So moving on from that, I believe at the time of release, they will have gone to the Senior Bowl and scouted out some of the coaches there as well as some of the players. And I would say keep poaching coaches off of the teams that have high turnover. Every move points in the same direction, and that's what the alignment is about. Not that some of the other regimes didn't think that they were on the same page, but the actions that they took in the moment said that they weren't. So none of Miami's hires are flashy, but that's exactly the point. Does that make sense? And it just confirms what we are learning about Hafley and Sullivan. This is where the philosophy becomes undeniable, right? Jeff Hafley and John Eric Sullivan are aligned not just personally, but ideologically. And it's about defense first, and it's about a physical identity and control messaging. This is not an ego war, and that is absolutely the Packers' model. So we're going to draft instead of splurging on free agents. We're going to develop young players instead of churning the bottom of the roster. We're going to build the culture here instead of playing up to the optics of the fandom and signing the big name free agent. That's why all of this makes sense inside of the building right now. And even if it frustrates the fans looking for a headline hire or a big name hire, you're outside the building. So it doesn't make sense to you. But if you take a closer look, you kind of see what exactly they're doing here. And it just means that the Dolphins aren't trying to win January. They're trying to build something that doesn't collapse under pressure the way that we have for the past 25 years. So this hire isn't about winning headlines. This hire is about not collapsing. The unfinished business of it all, where you have to have controlled skepticism here, is the defensive coordinator position is still unresolved. And as far as the offseason moves, this is your tension point right here. I told you before that I want my head coach to be the play caller, whether he be offense or defense. But the fact that the position is still unresolved is something key that you need to look at because of who they've talked to, right? Patrick Graham, Kelvin Shepard, Clint Hurt, Chris Shula, and Jesse Minter. Those guys got interviewed for, well, except for Clint Hurt, the other guys got interviewed for head coaching position, but you really killed two birds with one stone by doing that because it would translate over to what they qualify for as a defensive coordinator, right? But I would be worried about hiring one of those guys as an assistant as a defensive coordinator, because you would have to hire him as an assistant head coach. It would have to be a promotion for them in order for you to get them away from the team that they're currently under contract to. But the problem with that is you run into the risk of potentially hiring a guy who could replace you. And if you're going to do that, I would much rather see you go with a what do you call the old ships that are rusted at the bottom of the sea? One of those. Just give me a retired head coach who could still put his pulse on the team, even if they losing the pulse. Kind of like Mike Holmgren. I'm sure Mike Holmgren is completely happy and wants nothing to do with coaching anymore. But I mean, you get my drift, right? Just somebody who can't pose a threat to take Hafley's job, but someone who can still be in authoritative position that the players are like, man, I got to deal with him. Haf is doing his coaching thing. He's not worried about the foolishness that players deal with. You know, when he gets tired of dealing with it, he's got his assistant head coach to do what an assistant head coach has got to do.
On my face, all the team here to play football, yo. Play football. Yeah, I got it. You all didn't come out here to practice, because champions pay the price. Looking like a bunch of bums out here.
So if you're going to hire an assistant head coach, and I'm not saying that the Dolphins would or should, I'm just saying that I wouldn't go with a guy like those that you've interviewed already, because they've never been head coaches before. So to hire them as an assistant head coach just to get them as a defensive coordinator, it just doesn't sit right, because now both of y'all going out there looking at each other making the same mistakes because you've never been there before. So I don't know how that's going to play out, but I'm very interested in who the defensive coordinator is going to be, long story short. So while it appears to be deep vetting, it is clearly unfinished business, and it's something that we simply need to keep our ear to the ground on. So the bottom line with that is Hafley's defense won't be judged on the philosophy that he conveys to the defensive coordinator or any other ideas that he presents in the coaches' room meetings. It's going to be judged on how that defense looks on the field on Sundays. And the same goes for that roster. Sullivan's real first personnel moves, which we suspect will be dealing with the quarterback contract situation, and you know who turned the ball over, and the potential of Malik Willis joining the quarterback room, draft priorities, and I mean, none of this, the Green Bay philosophy only works if the execution of it all follows. So coming down to the real takeaway of it all, when you step back and you look at the entire picture, the Miami Dolphins are clearly not improvising anymore. This is a steady plan, and they're choosing a lane to ride in. So the Packers way, it's not about guarantees, okay? It's about reducing the self-inflicted damage that we've been doing to ourselves for the past 25 seasons. So whether this works, won't be decided in the press conference. It won't be any of the off-season optimism or any of y'all out there smoking the hopium. It's decided by the player development and the discipline that is instilled on this roster, and whether or not the alignment fully turns into results. So that's the bet that Miami's making, and now we get to see if what they're building can carry through. So,
as I said, I'm a cynical bastard.
That's our mini-sode, man. That's it for me. That's the first ever Phish Outta Water mini-sode. Click that subscribe and like button and let me know the answer to the question. Then, are we the Miami Packers or are we the Green Bay Dolphins? And I tell you my answer. So long as we get to Super Bowl 61, I don't really give a shit.